on this ASAP. Are we live? We're live.
We're live. We're doing
What
it.
is up, guys? We're back in action. All right, I got my other side muted, so we're good. No more tech issues.
Ham.
We're done. Welcome to the first episode, ladies and gentlemen, of the Side Hustle Lounge. This is where we get together. This is kind of like a new series. I figured it'd just be a lot more fun, do more laid back, casual stuff. Usually it's just me and Trista doing Q&A sesh. And then it goes on for like an hour and a half, which I enjoy these types of videos. Dillon does as well. That's why he's like, yeah I'll sign up for the 2-hour one.
Like live. You're like, let's do 2 hours. I'm like, sold.
He's like, okay, cool. When do I do it?
So what's the challenge?
This is officially the first episode where we haven't even talked about topics, agenda, nothing. We just said
last night.
Yeah, literally like, hey, you want to go live tomorrow? Okay. We literally are going to just push play, which we just did. So go. We'll start with Q&As. We'll go down some rabbit trails. We'll probably run some tangents. We'll probably take potty breaks if needed. It's gonna go on. I've gotta go catch my 4-year-old at 7. Yeah, there you go. I'm
7.
I'm keeping it clean. So I got my juice. That's what I'm sipping on.
I like it. My juice.
My juice. Sipping on my juice.
That's good.
Buy some new headphones. Yeah. So it turns out, if anyone caught the last stream, we just epically failed at for the last 20 minutes. I have dual monitors, and one monitor is facing down, so because it was shadowing, and that monitor had the video on it, so there was a second loophole of audio coming through. I do need more than that for
it happens. Hey, but you know, that's the thing. Like, this is real life. This is, I don't know. I kind of oddly like when things go wrong, because not everything. And this is something I learned from the last book I read, Blue Fishing, with Steve Sims. Like, he talks about not having everything so polished and perfect. Like, keep it raw. Like, it's reality of it. Like, don't expect or try to make everything perfect all the time, because that's just not how life works. And the moment you believe that heavily and then it doesn't happen, which has always been my issue, I'm like, what is wrong? I'm like, oh wait, reality kicks in. That's right.
So at least I'm on the right track then, because I've epically failed a lot of the whole polish thing. The only time that my videos look polished is because I have an editor work on them. He makes them look great. I do it and I'm like, that's good enough.
That's the same with the podcast, man. I always, actually, on every blog post that accompanies the podcast, at the bottom, I thank Brad Gibson, who edits our podcast, because I'm like, dude, you saved me 1 hours, and 2, you just make it amazing, like quality, in my opinion. And it makes me sound great. That's never fantastic. A bad thing.
Jonathan and Real Life FBA, Mr. Martin, thank you for the super chats. We are collecting a headphones fund, apparently. So I've got $4.
Hey,
I'm going to buy something from Wish.
There we go. It's going to take you 90 days, but it will get here.
It will get here. So I did for a shirt one time on Wish. I got targeted with an ad. I don't remember what was on it. It was a Marvel character. It must have been Iron Man or something like that. I got targeted with this pullover long sleeve, which I love. I'm like, okay, sold. It's like $2.99, free shipping. And it took about 90 days to get here. And I don't know if you guys have ever ordered China knockoff clothing. They run small. Now, I'm not a small frame person, and I usually run on a large for a shirt. This thing showed up. It had a large tag on it. This thing ran at like medium. It was so bad. I came out of the bathroom. And I mean, I was stereotypical. Like, my arms came out to here because it was so tight. And Tristan's like, you shouldn't wear that in public.
Dude, it's funny because when I was asking you like your shirt size, which by the way, I got confirmation, Aura shirts got shipped today. And you're like, yeah, large. Is like, I never would have guessed that. I don't know why. Like, I've only seen you like in this kind of frame though, right? So
this nice little like, square video.
Yeah. Like, I'm 5'9", so a medium's like perfect for me.
Yeah. And it's funny how that always works. Like, we just went down to ASD in Vegas, and we had 15 of our VIP members all stay in the same house. And we've all seen each other. We do weekly videos. So we've seen each other on video for a year plus. And we finally got to meet in person. And like Martin, Mr. Real Life FBA, Martin walks in the door. I'm like, oh, you're taller than I thought.
See, I get the opposite. Like, I spoke in Miami to this FBA group. They asked me to come down and be like a keynote. And I go down there and they're like, you're shorter than I thought. I'm like, yes, I am 5'9.5".
Gotta make
I
sure you get
wear
that
tighter
half in
clothes
there.
to make me look taller. Okay,
How'd
makes me
the
feel
first
better.
gig go, by the way?
It was good. It was crazy, man. I actually with my major had to take 2 speech classes, which that was boring. But I kind of got used to it. The second class, there was like probably 20 of us, so it was a small group. We all knew each other pretty well. That was pretty comfortable. And I got a B in that class, which really just like annoyed me. Like an 89, like just guy would not give me an A. I'm like, why? Like I'm killing this stuff. But whatever. So I get asked to do it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And I've been really focused on like forget like strategy and planning. Yeah, it's very important. But you have to. And another thing I really kind of made concrete learning from Steve Sims is you got to focus on execution over everything. So I got called and they're like, hey, man, we love the podcast. Philosophically, our group's exactly the same way. It's not about gurus. It's about value and making stuff happen and execution. I'm like, perfect. They're like, hey, do you want to come down and speak? So they put me on the spot on the phone. I was like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And they're like, what do you want to speak about? I was like, no idea. I'll let you know 2 weeks before. And went down there. They actually had the most people ever register, like RSVP for it and sign up. We had people like sitting on the floor, like standing.
No
And
pressure, right?
yeah, I know. But honestly, I got in this flow state and I forget who I learned this from, but it's imitating people you respect that are good at certain things. So I oddly enough try to channel my like inner Tony Robbins. I was like, how would he do this? Like how
Get
this
into state.
confidence is all.
Did you jump on a trampoline?
I didn't. I thought about it. They didn't have one. But
That's
no, it
amazing.
was cool, man. And yeah, it was really cool. I got done. So it was like an hour long. The first half was, here's wholesale the easy way. The second half was focusing on automation, right? Really where I geek out because that's business agnostic, right? And I get done, some claps. I'm like, cool. I have no idea if I bombed this thing or not. No clue. We already had done like an hour's worth of Q&A beforehand. And so I'm like, all right, cool. We're done. I was going to shut down my laptop. And then I have like a rush of people come up to me and start asking more questions. Like, was it good? And then, for the next hour plus, it was nonstop, just questions. And it made me feel good. I mean, really, because it's nice when you're providing value. Like I didn't get paid to go down there. Like I went out of pocket. Like I didn't care to ask for anything. I was like, hey, it's just cool. Like that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really fun. Met a lot of cool people. Now I'm like, man, I kind of want to do that again, but like bigger scale, right? It's like kind of leaning into fear. Like, oh, it's crazy.
The fun and best part about doing that, because I haven't spoken at a lot, I've spoken at a few, but it was the exact same experience the first time I spoke. I went out of pocket, went there, spoke, and it's like you can literally say the exact same thing that you say on a YouTube channel or your podcast. You're going to say the exact same things, but it's having the person-to-person interaction.
Yeah.
And like you said, people flooded you afterwards, asking more questions. It made you feel good. It made you feel good because you get to see the direct impact right then and there.
Yeah.
If I do a YouTube video or you do a podcast, like the info's out there. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. We wait, and then there's a few comments that come in, get a 5-star. Like, it's almost like delayed gratification when it comes to online presence versus what you get right then and there. When you get to see people's face and the emotions that come off of it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. Well, and at the same token too, like we talk about this and you hear it all the time, like entrepreneurship is very lonely, right? And so when you do what we do, which is provide a ton of content for free, just value, it's like, hey, like I don't have a course to sell you. Like, yeah, we have tools, but like I don't hard sell anything, even our Facebook group. Like, I want to have a positive impact on the community, on the industry, and positively affect it. And so, you have those days where you're like, man, I'm putting in so much work. I hope I am. And then you start to doubt yourself a little bit, right? And then you have this like rush of like people being like, hey, just like, thanks, right? I'll get an email or a phone call. And I'm like, dude, that like, I had one today. Actually, I had 2 today. And I was like, dude, like, that's incredible. Like even like with the tools, right? Like I did a user onboarding session today with a new Aura user. And he's like, yeah, dude, he's like, I'm sick of my other tool and I want to come to you guys. And the fact that you even offer me, time one-on-one to answer questions, like in person, if you will, was like a huge selling point. And, you know, I have 2 other people that want to sign up because of that. Like, that makes you feel good, right? Because, like, in my opinion, like, entrepreneurship is about providing value. And so when you know you're doing that, when you have that feedback loop, you're like, yes, let's, like, I'll work 100 hours a week instead of 95, right?
100%.
Because you just get that. And, like, knowing that you've, like, had a positive impact on somebody's actual life, like, it's weird to me because it's a different feeling. Like, it's a great feeling. It's amazing. But you're like, man, I didn't think I had that much to give. You know, and I'm even hesitant to accept it. I'm like, no, you still did all the work. Like, I didn't do anything.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
But man, it's crazy. It's incredible. Like, that's where I think my passion comes from too, is you get that, and you're like, oh crap, like, I gotta do this. Like, I don't have a choice now. Like, this is this is like a calling, you know, and it's wow. It's absolutely fantastic.
That's amazing. And it really is too. It's like, you've probably the same story too. Like, I dabbled in so many different things thinking that was going to be the thing. Yeah. And then I opened up this door that I stepped through of, like, reselling stuff. And then it started, I was 3 weeks into the journey selling on Amazon FBA, and I was it's on my first video I did. I think it was at $800 in sales or something like that. Just flipping shit from Dollar Tree and Walgreens. It was Avengers puzzles were my first flips I did out of Dollar Tree.
That's cool. By the way,
no longer profitable, people.
I thought you would appreciate this mug, by the way.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I brought it just for you.
That's amazing. I love it. I feel like that should be a theme of this new little series I wanted to start, the lounge.
Oh, dude.
No, rule number 1, you have to get into sweatpants. I feel like that should just be a rule. Like, I changed into sweatpants.
I also have this.
Yes.
So your boy doubles down. No, I'm a huge dork if nobody's learned that yet.
That's amazing.
But yeah, no, it's a cool, like, transition when I was talking to somebody about this today, actually, too, over the phone, where, like, I had passion for selling on Amazon. Like it is something that's empowering, right? And you learn so much. It's a huge growth point for a lot of people. But when we launched Vendrive, even the Facebook group, we didn't even have, this wasn't even a business. We just had a Facebook group, and we were just sharing and answering questions on Wholesale. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to launch a course and we're going to be gurus. It's like, no, let's just help people. Like, it's cool because we want a community, right? And you start to, again, get that feedback loop, and you're like, man, like, wait a second, we have something bigger here. And man, I've never experienced it before. And I'm like, I hear other entrepreneurs say it, and like, no, when you have passion, I'm like, yeah, but like, how do you have that, right? But no, when it clicks, you're like, ooh, okay, here we go.
It's a big difference.
Yeah, man, it's absolutely insane. And it's fun. God, it's fun, man. Like, meeting people, like, you know, it's funny, like, me and you were here talking casually now, and I remember watching your videos when I first got started. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so funny to me.
but what's funny is I get the same thing now, where,
you
know, people in Miami that came to the talk were like, dude, I've been listening to your podcast since episode 1. I'm like, oh my God, dude, like, like, give me a hug. Like, this is cool, man. Like, it's weird, right? Like, and I know the numbers of downloads and listeners, but I'm like, those aren't real people. Those are just numbers.
And that's so, like, that, you know, now you guys get to listen behind the scenes. Like, and if you haven't caught on by now, this is basically me and Dillon just hanging out like we would. This is why we wanted to call it the lounge. If you just had PJs on and you were hanging out with some people, this is what it is. So you guys get to hear behind the scenes of, like, content creation now. Because that's such a great topic too, is like, as content creators, it's easy to get caught up, and we see numbers. Like, I post a video and it's got a couple thousand views 24 hours later. I'm like, okay, cool, it's doing well. But if I imagine 2,000 people sitting in a room watching me talk, that's a same 2,000 people. Totally different ballgame now.
The feedback loop is different, right? Because it's immediate and you get the emotion. I get emails and messages all the time that are positive, and I love them. Gosh, I love them. But having somebody, even on the phone, just hearing the vocal tone and that slight emotional edge, you're like, dude, I'm about to cry right now. Like, this is fantastic, you know? It's incredible. I wish more people could experience it, and everybody has their thing, right? Like, me and James, like, it wasn't about being, like, well known in the industry, right? It's just, hey, like we have a good combination of skill sets. What, like, let's try and like build something amazing that we would want, right? And do it the way we would want done that isn't being done. And that was our path. You know, that's, you know, James is an amazing engineer. And I'm not. So I do everything else. You know, but it's,
some of the best businesses are built that way. You always hear like one is
yeah.
great behind the scenes and the other one's the face, or in your case, the voice.
You're right. Exactly. I was like, we should start a podcast. He's like, well, you're doing that. I was like, hey, we got asked to be interviewed. He's like, well, good luck.
That's
but
amazing.
It's cool. But it's nice, right? Because it's a good combination, because that's not really what James wants.
Mm-hmm.
And he shouldn't, right? And like, I'm not good at developing. Like, I'm learning Python right now, so I can be somewhat, you know, technically inclined in conversations, being able to do stuff. But when you have that combination, and I've never had a partner in a business ever. I've always been hesitant because I've always tried to do it with friends. Not that me and James aren't friends, but we started as business partners. Like we didn't meet. We're like, hey, we should go into business together. It's like, hey man, like, why don't we work on this together? I'm like, cool. It's a side project. Like we worked together for over a year before meeting in person, and we met on Instagram. That's what's crazy.
That IG life.
Yeah, no joke. Because I saw him. He was running his wholesale business. He was at 7 figures. I was at 6 and growing. But I was like, hey, you know, I want to learn the differences between the two models, like, or between the two levels, right? Can you just walk me through a few things? Like, I'll pay you for your time. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. Let's jump on Skype for an hour, just kind of chit chat. And then was like, hey, let's meet up once a week and just hold each other accountable. I was like, cool. And then he told me about the Facebook group. He's like, yeah, there's like 20 people in it. You know, if you want to help, that'd be cool too. I'll make you an admin. Now we have 7,200 people and it's been, you know, a year, and that's organic growth. Now we have Vendrive, we have Aura, we have the podcast. I'm actually I decided this morning, hence this whole, like, just go to the execution route, forget the strategy. I decided we're going to write a book.
Does James know?
Yeah, I told him in Slack. I was like, hey, just by the way, we're writing a book. He's like, sounds great. Let's do it. Like, there's no hesitation. That's what I love about me and James. There's no like, that's like, can we do that? No, it's just like, yeah, cool. Let's figure it out, dude. I don't know. Like, it's so cool. And regardless of the business, right? Whether it's tech, selling on Amazon, it's irrelevant. It's always asking the question of like, how could I do that? Like, if you want to spend 30 grand a month on wholesale, ask the question, how do I do that? Who's currently doing that? Hey, can I pay you for 30 minutes of your time? Most people will say, no, don't worry about it. Let's just jump on anyways. Like, it's an ask, right? That's what's incredible. And I remember,
it's so true. And most people struggle with just the ask. Yeah, you did. That's how this whole thing started.
Yeah, literally. And we're here now. And that wasn't that long ago. I mean,
no.
People are afraid to ask. That's what's crazy to me. And most people who see that you're taking action, I'll jump on the phone at any point. That's how me and Jenna Jackson, Jill Smith, a few others that are in our group, I'll jump on the phone. They have my phone number. They can call me anytime because they're putting in effort and taking action. So I will give you, if I know you're putting in the hard work and you just need a little bit of help or a sounding board, here's my number. Call me anytime. I got you. But if you're not doing anything, it's different.
And the funniest part about that too is, so Aura, you guys have heard us talk about it. We've had Dillon and James on the channel. It's the best repricer on the market. And these guys are the masterminds behind it. And I saw it come. I remember seeing the very first Facebook post about this new repricer that's going to like dominate the market and crush the competition. And I ignored
the marketing hype.
Yeah, I know, right? It's all the marketing hype, but here's another program I got to buy. And, you know, add that to the stack of hundreds of dollars I need to spend. And so I remember seeing post after post after post for months. And I knew your guys' names. I knew the program, the software you guys were developing. And then it wasn't until you reached out to me and just said, hey, we're working on something. Maybe it's something you want to check out. I stopped for 5 seconds, looked into it. I'm like, okay, I'm intrigued. Let's see what we can do. And it was just the ask. Even though I already knew about you guys, I knew about what you were doing. I was just too lazy and I didn't take 5 seconds to look at what it was. I just
But I
heard
like
about
what
it.
you did though, because you said, "Hey, that's cool. Let's jump on a call together because I want to see what you guys are about," right? Because it comes like we're similar, right? Like we have people. Like I have a phone call tomorrow with somebody who's like, "Hey, I'd like to integrate with you guys," or "Hey, I'm working on this cool idea." I'm like, "Cool, let's talk." I'm always down to talk, but if we don't agree philosophically, if I know that the value that you bring is far less than what you charge people, I don't care. It's not a solid win for me, right? So yeah, it's how it's approached that's important. But yeah, I mean, Larry Libarski, I met Larry Libarski. Not that me and him are like great friends or anything, but again, Instagram like 2 years ago. And so when I reached out again on Instagram, I was like, "Hey man, can I interview you for the podcast?" Like it hasn't even launched yet. You're gonna be like first 5 people. He's like, "Yeah, dude, let's do it. It'd be cool."
Oh
Like,
man.
it's crazy. All right, so we're getting yelled at for not answering questions. All right, you guys got questions.
All right,
Let's dive
questions. Let's
into
go.
them.
I saw somebody say I have to buy another book.
I was just going to mention that. I love Don. Don's cool. He's a Vendrive user too. I love it. That's so awesome. Cool. It's going to be a short book. It's going to be like max like 50 pages. It's going to be Kindle. You're not going to, I know, dude. I don't like the like.
If I can read it in like a couple hours, I'm good.
Dude, like the first half is like a setup. I'm like, I don't need the setup. Just give me what I want. Like,
I need the cliff notes and I need the next.
Yeah, and I speed read. So Kindle actually has a setting called Word Runner, so you can actually set the word per minute rate, like the speed, and it will cycle it through it. No, it's sick. So you read a book
part
like
of the probably rare crew. I've never once looked at a Kindle. I've never once read a Kindle book, never even looked at them. I love like, physical
this is my new one. So I go so back and forth. My issue with it is physical copies, because I read a ton. It would cost me like $500 a month.
Yeah,
that's and I'm like, like, but now I buy used good on Amazon, and it's like $8 a month.
Now that we know. Yeah, I remember before I became an Amazon seller, I was the type that I never knew Amazon had third-party sellers. Yeah. I was a Prime customer myself for like 2 years. And then I took a little mini class on Amazon FBA and eBay. I knew about eBay, never looked into it as a business. And I'll never forget that first day of the session. And he's like, "Yeah, third-party sellers can sell on Amazon." I'm like, "What?" All this stuff I buy is from Amazon, and I always buy just whatever the first page is.
Yeah.
And then I was reading books at the time. And that was one of my biggest things I took out of that class, was not learning how to sell on Amazon. It was, I can save $20 a book by going to the used section.
I know. And I'm like, this is fantastic. Because it's like, it's like $25, $50 or $4. I'm like, $4. I don't need a brand new perfect book. Come on.
I don't even need Prime shipping. Like, get it to me in 14 days. I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. No, I love it. Here, so we got one here. When do you ever stop PPC on a product? So in my opinion, it's whenever. So with PPC, what I found is you have law of diminished returns, right? So this is always an issue with paid ads, where you can spend, let's say, $20 per day profitably. But the moment you go from 20 to 25 or 20 to 30, it becomes unprofitable because it becomes more expensive. This is where you have to start getting more kind of advanced, breaking out different ad groups, segmentation, which personally I don't like to do because I'm effectively lazy. So once I have it, I know.
Welcome to behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, that's really it though, right? I mean, not that that's correct, but it's just, I'm not trying to be a PPC expert to that degree. I want to use it in my business and be good to go, right? So I know what my break even or my max ACoS is, that percentage. I actually put it in the title of the campaign, so I know without having to remember or save it or whatever.
That's smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's referencing, right? So like as I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't have to jump anywhere. I just look. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 18%. I'm at 10%. We're good, right? So one of two things, right? You either, and this is not when you stop necessarily, this is when you pull back. So if you are, again, spending, let's say, $25 per day profitably, and you go to 30, and you're like, oh, that was a massive increase in ACoS. Okay, go back down to 25. Does it go back to where it was? And is it, again, more profitable? Hold it there and start to add new, keywords, things like that. Or it's just too expensive and your max ACoS is 20% and you're selling at, and your campaign's at 20, 21%. Yeah, stop that, right?
I opened up my PPC and I was going through. I'm like, okay, sweet. I got one down to like 4%, like beautiful. I got one at like 10, great. 15. I'm like, sweet, sweet. I see like an 87. I'm like, you're done. Luckily, I had only spent like $10, but it generated like $20, and it didn't make sense.
And what's crazy is people don't. It's funny because I'll mention running PPC on a wholesale like listings. People are like, what? Why would you ever do that? I'm like, why wouldn't you? It's undervalued, dude. When
especially
you
run with RA and OA too.
Yes, exactly. Right. But people don't want to do it. I'm like, no, like it's an easy way to increase your volume 20 to 30%. And it's not expensive. Like I was doing $55 in profit per unit. I was selling 30 units per month. I started running a campaign. It was a simple campaign. I obviously put some time into it and tweaked it and scaled it up, but I got it to where I was spending $5 for an additional sale. So I scaled from 30 units to 50 units, and I'm still making $50 on the latter half of those sales. Like that's fantastic. Like I'll give you $5 if you give me 50 all day long.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I was
see Steve.
I was looking at oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say this one. So when will Aura AI go live? So here's the thing about why we promote AI right now. We have AI on our back end. So we do use AI. Do we have AI strategies right now? We don't. We're building those out. Here's something to keep in mind too. We're not doing algorithmic repricing, which by the way, every repricer is algorithmic. It's a set of steps that you create. So by definition, a repricer is an algorithm, but that's a side tangent. So we're building out a true AI model that's very cumbersome and obviously complex. We plan on having a beta out in the next like 3 to 4 months. Obviously very kind of complex and in depth, a lot of data science, a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. It's not just, you click a button and say, hey, just make it better over time. Like it's way more in depth. I promise you it's gonna be worth the wait. But what we charge now for a subscriber is not like, we don't factor in AI capabilities at that price point. But we do use AI on the back end. Again, that's for performance reasons. So having that, you do get access to an enhanced performance from the back end of that. So yeah, I definitely want to be like fully transparent about that. Like we don't have AI repricing strategies yet, but we're working on that.
And for those that completely got lost, just sign up. Like that's the clip. Just do it. Real quick, since we were talking about the PPC, and I specifically for the people who don't do PPC for their RA and OA items, that's retail and online arbitrage. I've been running a campaign so this is since October. So we're on about 6 months. Every RA and OA item that I buy and I send to Amazon FBA gets put on my store-wide cheap campaign. It's an automatic targeting campaign, and it's 5 cents per click, maximum $20 a day. You rarely ever cap out at $20 a day. People seem to freak out. They're like, I can't afford $100 for the week. For the Monday through Friday.
You can.
Yeah, if it's profitable, you can. So just to give you guys some numbers, we've done 307 orders on just RA OA items on that PPC campaign, cheap campaign, and over time since October we spent $1,200. It's generated $8K in sales, and that's a 15% ACOS. So it gives you some real life numbers. So if you're not putting your RA and OA items on some cheap targeted automatic campaign, definitely do it. And if you don't know how to do it, stay tuned because Monday drops. Which one is that? Yeah, Monday will drop. That's going to be lesson number 4 in module 2 of our free course that we put out. So I covered how to set up a basic PPC campaign for that. Literally takes less than 5 minutes. It's super easy.
I love the idea of the free course, by the way. You started like pushing those out. I was like, that's genius. I love it.
I hit them hard out of the gate, and then life got crazy and I had to put halt and focus on other things. Now I'm back on. I've got 5 modules total, about 30 videos. And I easily could have packaged this up in a nice bundle and done the marketing and made tens of thousands of dollars, which, I mean, that'd still be nice, but I'll do that down the road. And for now, you guys know how we roll. It's like, I'd just rather put that shit out there for free.
Yeah. Like we did that with our podcast or not the podcast, the blog. So vendrive.com/blog. Like if you read everything there, I know what are in all these wholesale courses. Minus Larry Lubarski's because I haven't seen his yet, but he's showed me his outline. It's actually pretty damn in depth. I'm pretty excited to go through it, to be honest, because it's Larry too. But a lot of the ones that are out there that are popular, I've gone through, and what we have on our blog is 10 times what's in there, and it's all free, and it's not fluffy conceptuals. It's like, no, here's literally how to do this. Yeah, that's kind of how we roll too. I like it.
Don, congrats, man.
Sold that first thing on FBA.
Big announcement, big first sale.
That's huge, dude.
Took 5 minutes.
I lost my mind when I lost my mind when I had that first one. I did.
What was your obviously it's probably you're not selling it anymore.
I have no idea. I have no clue what it was. I know it was RA. It was probably something from Target because I went heavy on Target because there's a decent amount around us. But I remember hitting the first $1,000 day, and I remember being on a date. This was like a Tinder date too. This was really funny. So we're walking around, and she's asking me what I do. I'm like, oh, I sell like on Amazon. Like, basically, I have an e-commerce business. She's like, oh, that's cool. And I pull up Seller Central, on my phone, and I refresh it, and then I kind of like pause. I was like, oh. She goes, what? I was like, I just hit a new like goal. She's like, what do you mean? And I did 3,000 like that day. It was like a Saturday.
Oh my god!
Like I didn't work for like 2 days because I was like, no, I'm taking the weekend off. It's fine. And I was like, oh my god, this is sick. Like it's so insane. That was like 100% wholesale, like running PPC ads. Like I'm going ham. And no, it was cool.
That's insane. Yeah, you never forget that first one. Mine was literally Thanksgiving Day, 2015.
Oh, dude, that's great.
Yeah, so I sent in my very first shipment. Was like I don't forget dates for some reason. I just stick in my head. November 17th, I sent in my very first 3 little boxes of like 20 or 30 units of Amazon FBA stuff. And from there, it got checked in, and Thanksgiving Day in the middle of dinner at my in-laws' house. Like the one place my wife she just gets pissed if I look at my phone when I'm over there. And of course, I'm in the middle of like the big family dinner. And something told me like, just refresh the app. And of course, when you're new and you send something in, you're like every 5 minutes refreshing, waiting for the sale.
And it just got picked up by UPS. And you're like,
oh
did
man,
I sell it yet?
Like, I'll never forget the look on my wife's face because I was sitting like this eating, and then she sees me go like this.
Clear as hell.
And I'm pulling my phone down here on the side, and I refresh, and I see $7.49, and I'm like,
we're rich.
And I like, babe, and I showed her. She's like, put your damn phone away. Like she didn't understand it at all. I was freaking out. That was an Avengers Dollar Tree puzzle I sold for $7.49. That's
great.
3.5 years ago, so fees were way less. So I actually made like $3 profit on that.
That's cool. Man, we got the bearded picker. We got Scott in here. Bearded picker, Mr. Scott.
I'm struggling. Bearded picker in the house.
Question. So I do this. That's actually a good question here. So do you go through when you're going through your PPC campaigns, do you go through and eliminate negative keywords to help with the cost and performance? Absolutely. So the way I approach it is I start with manual campaigns, right? So I'll do some research, figure out the keywords, typically 15 to 20 that I'll test for a week, $10 per day. And then I'll weed those out at the end of the week, right? So then I know which ones are profitable, which ones clearly are not. And then once I have a handful that I'm pushing forward with, I then create a second campaign, which is an automatic campaign. And then once a week, I do pull that report. I go through, see clearly what's not profitable, what's not good, grab those keywords, add them to the negative list on the automatic campaign, and then we're good to go. And so what I'll do is, every few weeks, I'll take the really high performing keywords that the automatic campaign found and then add them to the manual. Like the manual for me, that's where I'm making money. And then the automatic is what I call like a discovery campaign. It's helping me kind of cultivate keywords that I never would have thought about that work really well. I still keep that campaign at like $10 per day, but the manual one is where I really scale up because I know the math on it. Right. So that kind of helps a lot too. Do you do that at all, Chaz?
I haven't ventured too much into that yet. I just this week sat down and told myself like I'm gonna dive even deeper into the PPC stuff. So
It's
that's
cool,
definitely something
man.
I need to start implementing.
The report's not fun to go through at all.
I've pulled the reports and like looked through them, and I told
Dude,
myself
yeah.
this was a couple months ago. I was like, I'm gonna learn how to master PPC and dominate. And then I pulled that first report, and I'm like, I hate numbers. I just realized.
Yeah.
I forgot. Like, I don't enjoy this work. I want to go
Luckily, I'm a
find the
finance
stuff.
major, so like I love Excel, so I don't mind it. But like, so you can basically create like a macro that in Excel that will
Yeah,
kind of go
yeah,
through and do it. But yeah, it depends on like how hardcore you want to go about it, how frequently you're doing it,
yeah.
obviously.
That's when I decided, I'm just gonna hire someone.
Yeah.
I'm learning to outsource the stuff I just don't want to do.
You know what's funny too? I have this idea and I'm obsessed with it where I think a lot of sellers, when they're growing their businesses, instead of hiring employees, not that I'm against it by any means, but I think you could do
Mhm,
well with off the shelf services like TaskRabbit,
mhm,
um, where it's one off things, right? It's not like having a VA. I think for certain people in certain kind of processes, that could make sense where you could just have like some automation of like, hey, I do this, Zapier picks it up, it sends it to TaskRabbit, they go pick up the inventory and bring it to me.
mhm.
Like, I don't know. I'm trying to like place it together and how expensive it would be and if it financially would actually make sense. But it seems cool, man. Like, I love that stuff. But like,
Mhm.
also outsourcing and building what I call like, I've called it in my head, like a hit team, where it's like I have my PPC, like not a VA, but like a virtual person, the remote. They are my PPC experts. So as soon as a new
That's
listing goes
exactly what a
live,
VA is, right?
I know. I feel like the
I'm gonna
the
mess
term
with you.
VA, I know, I feel like the term VA has
It's
been like
thrown out there so
diluted.
much. Yeah, I
It
know where you're coming
is,
from.
man. Like because it is a virtual assistant, right? But
Yeah,
like I'm talking like specialized, like no, they are a
one task.
PPC exactly.
Mhm.
And so you have this A team. Probably A team's probably more positive than hit team, but whatever.
Hit team just sounds like, all right, let's go crush some people.
Dude, yeah, I can't, dude. So like I'm obsessed with like James Bond, like all the spy movies. I'm like, let's
Yeah,
crush them.
yeah,
But no, like have a listing optimization person, right? Every new
yeah.
listing that comes live, that especially for like wholesale retail arbitrage may or may not make sense for stuff like that,
Mhm.
but it goes live, they do listing optimization. Once that's done, it gets passed off, they start running PPC ads for that, right? And you have these protocols of here's how we start each new, here's how we optimize the listing, here's how we start a new campaign. Here's my expectations. Here's when we stop using a keyword or when we turn off a campaign. Like have those. And what's cool is with some of that stuff, especially like the campaign side, you can set up automations once it's created and running to automatically do some of that stuff for you. But it's having a group of people where all these optimization things that do matter that increase
Mhm.
sales are just being done by people who live, eat, and breathe that. That's fascinating to me because it's done in so many industries, but less so, in ours for some reason. And it's really not crazy expensive to hire somebody to do it for, let's
It's
say, like
not,
20% of your listings.
it's so funny that you bring that up because that's almost exactly what I've been working on the last like 2 months.
Mhm.
So we have a current team of 5 virtual assistants specifically for OA. And I
Mhm.
found out a few of them are really skilled in other areas. So
Mhm.
I've told myself that that's exactly what I'm trying to build out is my own
That's
personal
cool.
team because
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff I'm not good at.
Yeah. And
And
well,
so
there's a
I've
lot of stuff you
learned,
shouldn't do.
yeah, it's like I shouldn't be spending my time doing certain tasks. So I
Yeah.
outsourced those already. And then I found out like, oh, you also are amazing at doing Facebook ads. I'm horrible at them. I'm going to
Right.
hire you for Facebook ads. So I
Yeah.
started to create my own little version of that. So we've got about
Oh,
3
that's
people that are
great.
working on other projects now.
Yeah. And if you set up the process, like I like Process Street, so it's process.st for because it integrates with Zapier and I can automate a lot of it. But no, it's cool. You can have it set up to where after each person is done with their speciality, they hit a check mark and then the next person gets notified. So you create this like assembly line of optimization that just happens without you, right? You do what you normally do, which is list it and maybe you mark it, hey, this one I want to go deep on. And then that
Mhm.
kicks off. I mean, that's so cool. I like Tiffany's comment, by the way, because it's so true. Dating as a reseller is so hard. No one understands the obsession.
It
They
truly is an
don't.
obsession.
Yeah, and that's just entrepreneurship though too.
Yeah.
Like for some, so like I have a girlfriend now somehow with my schedule, like full-time school, all these projects and companies, and I somehow have a girlfriend, but she like gets it. And what's crazy is when we started dating, I told her what we did, and she read our blog. Like she went and read the Vendrive blog because she's like, yeah, I just want to know what you guys do. Like it's fascinating. I'm like,
keep that one. That you won't find
what?
another one like that.
I was like, oh my
awesome.
God, this is so cool. Yeah, no, it's definitely hard though, for sure. But Scott, I was watching your live earlier today, man. It was good.
Scott took 2 naps today, so he's great. Gonna be up till 5 a.m.
Scott was going hard early this day, or earlier today, man. They're talking about Arby's coupon bolos.
Oh, that's so great.
It was so funny. That was awesome. A good one. That was fun. Their group's really cool.
I love it. We need to get a. I said this a couple weeks ago. I was on a chat, forgot where, but I said we need to get a huge group of the YouTubers together. That'd be fun.
Man. Yeah, it would be cool to do like a huge meetup. We have this idea because we have tons of ideas, and I had a dream. If it was so surreal, it was visceral. I was at this amazing event. It was huge. It was just exciting. Like I felt emotional during this dream, and I woke up and I was like, that was VinCon. I was like, we have to have VinCon.
And then it began.
I immediately like jump on Slack on my phone before I'm out of bed. I text James, I'm like, dude, VinCon, what's your idea? He's like, I just bought the domain. I'm ready. I was like, oh man, I love it. And yeah, we were actually talking about it today. They're like, we're like, as soon as we're at that point where it makes sense, we have the capacity to do it. We're going to do it. We are going to have the coolest, at least in our opinion, meetup conference. I don't know. We got to figure it out.
I love how that's how our brains operate. I literally did the same thing. I had this idea for a conference, but not just reselling. I wanted to bring in people who know about like Airbnb, like all these different side hustles, right? Yeah. And so I same thing. I got up and I'm like, all right, I pondered it for like 2 seconds and I bought sidehustleconference.com. It's so shockingly it was open. I was shocked that one was open. I did the same thing. I'm like, I'm just going to buy it now. And I don't know if I'll do anything with it quite yet, but
right. Yeah, no, like James has if it's Vin something and it makes sense, James has bought it. I'm like, dude, stop buying domains.
Oh, that's so good.
But we try to get aura.com and they want, I think it's like 20 grand. And we're like, really? Like, we'll talk in like a year. That's a bit much. Like, I'd rather hire another engineer. Like,
yeah.
That's why it's Go Aura. But no, it's fun, man. I also had this idea like probably a year ago and I just haven't revisited it, but I still have this awesome idea where we get like this really cool like house, like a mansion, not a mansion, but like a really big house, right? It fits like 20 people. It's a weekend retreat and it's like a master class on like wholesale, on PP. Like we break out each day, but it's not like this super like, okay, it's $5 grand per ticket. No, like let's figure out what it's going to cost.
You mean affordable?
Yeah, imagine that, right? Because again, like I'm not trying to be a guru, but like it would just be fun. Like it would literally be so much fun to have like a group of 20 people in a house where all we're talking about is this stuff and we're deep diving. Like, what's your biggest problem right now? Cool. Hey, let's go in the corner and talk about that and work through it, right? That would be sick. And literally, what does it cost in total? Divide that by the amount of people. That's what it costs.
Exactly.
Like, that would just be fun.
You don't need to make $500 profit per head.
Jeez.
What?
People
No
try to make
Lambo?
like 4,000. No Lambo. Maybe we do joke about having we joked about having either the Aura Lambos and we would take them to conferences, which we're like, oh, that might be fun. We're like, it's not really us. Gosh. Or we have like all blacked out or all white Range Rovers with like the Aura logo, so we look like a 3-letter government agency.
Oh my gosh!
Like at our office, and people are just like, "What the hell do you guys do?" We're like, "Don't ask."
Don't ask.
It's a bunch of nerds building.
I would tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Right. But by the way, do you sell on Amazon? It's unrelated. That's great.
Yeah, Mini Coopers, that could work.
Ooh, that actually, I like the old like 80s Mini Coopers, the ones that were in the Italian Job.
Mm-hmm.
Those are sick. You never see those, man. People want like 30, 40 grand for them though. Like, good Lord, they're cool, but dang.
Not that cool.
Dillon's got books to buy.
Don asked, wholesale focus tool, tactical arbitrage, or helium 10?
It depends on like what you're using it for. So I actually reached out to Helium 10. No, I take that back. I actually reached out to Viral Launch because I oddly have an idea where they could be used very well for wholesale. I'm waiting to hear back from them to get them on the phone and talk. I haven't used either of those actually for wholesale because, and what's funny is, I own 2 tools, but I will be the first one to tell you, because I've been an Amazon seller for so long, don't get every tool imaginable. If you can do it without a tool, do it without a tool. Like, I will straight up tell you, and I do it all the time. People be like, hey, I already know your answer, but should I join Aura? I have 8 listings. No, you're not going to get enough value from it.
Yep.
Like, if you have over 10 listings, yeah, absolutely. I think 10 is the minimum where you can start to get value from it. Right. And you got to be consistently, if you're RA, going to be consistently shipping things in. If it's wholesale, yeah, you can have 10 listings and be doing 6 figures in sales annually. But no, if like, don't, and we joked about this earlier, right? Which is like, it's easy to have like $1,500 a month in tool costs, but you shouldn't. Like, I didn't use Jungle Scout to help me source for the first year and a half, because tools are efficiency tools, right? Like, I had to get effective at sourcing before I brought on an efficiency tool. Otherwise, I'm being efficiently ineffective. Doesn't really work out in your favor.
It's the exact same thing when because people ask about, our virtual assistant team that we've outsourced all of our OA stuff to, and now they're doing other things. And we've got 5, and people are like, oh my gosh, I'm going to hire a VA. What should I have them do? I'm like, if you don't know how to answer that, you probably shouldn't hire anyone.
Yeah.
You have to have your own processes down first before you can teach someone else how you want it done.
And that's the biggest conundrum I see, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to go hire five VAs. I'm like, okay, do you have SOPs? No. Have you ever trained anybody? No. Do you know how to source? Have you been successful yourself? No. I was like, how long have you been doing this? They're like, 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, listen.
Yeah.
You're trying to scale before proving the model, or at least figuring out the model for yourself, right? This happens all the time with like software and tech companies. We've been, because that's kind of been my focus lately, where people try to build scalable systems and try to scale before they have what's called product market fit. Like, you don't know if people actually want what you have, or that the product's complete. And then they just start throwing like 5 to 10 grand a month in Facebook ads. I'm like, no, that's not going to work. Like, you don't even know your churn numbers, right? You just launched like a week ago. You don't know your churn rates, your retention rates, your LTV, like the math, right? But same thing. If I don't know, if I'm terrible at baseball, I'm like, you know what? I don't need to play baseball. I'll hire somebody to play baseball for me, and I'll just teach them how to do it. Probably not going to work out.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I was going to hire someone. This was a couple years ago. And I was spinning so many plates because I thought more was better.
Yeah.
And I was spinning so many plates, and we talked about this on our last like time management thing that we did. And I was spinning so many plates. And I thought more was better, and I was so stressed out and overwhelmed in life. Like, I was having anxiety and mental breakdowns. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'll just get up and do it again tomorrow. Sounds great. And so I sat down, I told Trisha, like, I need to hire someone, because obviously that's my true financial advisor is the wife. So I'm like, I need to hire someone. I need to spend like $100 a week to start with, just to hire someone, and they need to help me offload this stuff. And she's like, okay, you make a list of exactly what they would do for you every day and bring it back. And I'm like, oh yes, I finally got permission. So I like got my notepad down. I'm like, I had no answer. And she's like, when you can come up with an actual task list that someone you hire is going to do, then you can hire someone. And it took me like 6 months to figure out my own routines and systems, because I had none. So she forced me to come up with my routines. She doesn't know this, but it was her that created that. And so I created my own systems and routines for each of our little side hustles. And then I'm like, okay, all right, I can outsource this part now. It started with online arbitrage, because I'm like, well, I can run the tactical arbitrage scans and teach a VA my way of selecting a good buy and filtering out the bad ones. I can outsource and teach that. So that's how it started. And then it grew from there. But if you can't write down on a piece of paper your exact system for each of the ways you make money, you can't outsource that. You've got to have your systems in place.
Yeah, and there's a framework too. Like, this is why I love Ari Meisel. He's the founder of The Replaceable Founder. It's a great book too. We had him on the podcast, and the way he teaches it is a framework, and it's the OAO framework. And so what a lot of people do is they go to the last O, which is outsource. Okay, if you have an inefficient or an ineffective process and you go, I just don't want to do it, it's painful, I'm going to have somebody else do it. Now you're wasting somebody else's time and you're wasting your money. So instead, what he does, and it's a linear progress, the first O is optimize. Make it efficient, make it better, make it simple, right? I did this with the podcast when I wanted to launch it. I put the whole daggum thing on a massive whiteboard, every step, the entire workflow. I said, okay, if I can't do anything else, I have to do it all. How can I make this simpler, right? Can I remove redundancies? Can I be a little bit more effective here, a little bit more efficient there? I did that. I reduced the amount of steps. Perfect. The second part of that framework is A, which is automation. Okay. Well, if we can outsource, if we can automate even little pieces of it, that's great, right? So we went from, let's say, 30 steps down to 23 in the optimized section. Now with automation, I use tools that integrate with Zapier. Perfect. Now I can reduce it from that 23 down to 4. Okay. What is left is what has to get done manually. Now we're at outsourcing. But instead of outsourcing the 30 plus steps, I'm outsourcing, 3 or 4 of them. That's fantastic. Now you're being super effective, and outsourcing doesn't cost so much money because you're not giving them 80 hours worth of like crap to do per week. That's super important.
That's another big piece too, is it's not that expensive. Like, I had this mindset going into it that if I was going to hire someone, I was going to lose that money every week. Right. Yeah. And then you forget, because you're outsourcing, you should be outsourcing the stuff that's not income generating for you, and focus your time on the stuff that's going to generate that. And then prime example is my employee, Ryan. And then I think it was your podcast when you could see him in the background working,
duct taping.
But he's a prime example of, I had poor non-efficient. I had poor efficiency in my systems that I thought were great, because I had my own wacky way of memorizing where I stored inventory, when it sold on eBay, where to pull it from, because I memorized what shelf it was on, which bin. I had no actual efficient system. So when I hired him, and he started doing photos, and then eventually he upgraded to creating the listings and learning how to research and price my stuff on eBay. And then he got to the point where I was comfortable enough to teach him how to ship stuff, because that's a huge part of eBay, is the daily shipping, packaging the right way. I'm dealing with VCRs and electronics typically, so I like things bubble wrapped a certain way. And it wasn't until he came in, and I'll never forget, I came in, he was starting to do some shipping, and he's like, I think we need to change some things. Like, my employee told me that. And of course I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this works great. And he's like, when you come in and work. Yeah. And he told me, he's like, when you come in and work and you're not here and I'm not here, because I come in and I'll do photos and pick through the death pile and stuff like that. He's like, when you come in and work and then I come in the next day, there's just stuff that I don't know if it's been processed, if it's been photoed, if it needs listed, if it needs shit. Like, he didn't know. And so because of that conversation, I was like, all right, let's sit down, start from scratch. We pulled everything literally off the shelves onto the middle of the floor, and we started from scratch. We created bins A through Z. Everything's categorized. If I do photos, there's a specific spot it's dropped off, so he knows those photos were done. And we had to create those efficiencies before I was able to optimize that.
Yeah, but it's great when you do it. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, that's too OCD. I'm like, no, OCD in a business is fantastic. Like, it just makes life way easier, right? Because you know that everything is getting done the exact same way every single time. I'm reading a book right now by Todd Tresidder. It's called The Leverage Equation, and he goes over 6 like different versions of leverage, right? We always know leverage as like financial leverage, right? Debt, things like that, but there's more. And the last chapter I actually read earlier today, it was interesting. He's like, making money should be boring. I was like, that's an interesting start of a title. Let's dive in here.
Let's buy that one.
Yeah, but his argument coincides exactly with what you said, which is, you know, I want to be doing the things that are income generating. He actually argues against that. He's like, no, if you have it set up correctly, you should not be generating income. Instead, you should build a system in the machine that generates income for you so that you can free yourself up, not to focus on generating income, but to focus on the vision of how do we create more? What's the next step for us? How do we, work on this system, make this more efficient? How do we hire somebody here? Right. So it's less about, because I've seen this so many times, and I've learned this about myself too, which is like, let's just outsource everything that doesn't make money. Right. But I'm kind of like, man, his point, I was like, that's a good point.
That's a solid point. Yeah.
It shouldn't just be that, right? Because we do have this, hate to call it an ego, but we're entrepreneurs, right? We have this ego, like nobody can make the money like we can. Of course they can. Why can't they? Like, you learned how to do it, right? And so if you break it out and structure it correctly, within wholesale, why can't you have somebody who logs in and places your restock orders for you once a week? And you maybe you have to approve it, right? They say, hey, here's what I want to do. You go, yeah, okay, that's good. Or, hey, reduce this here, increase this here. Okay, good, bye. That's generating income. They're placing orders, but do you really necessarily need to do that? That's pretty interesting. I don't know.
A lot of it's just control.
We've
all got control issues.
Of course, 100%. It's our baby, right? Yeah. Like, it's 100%. So we have a question, and you'll know this one because I won't. Just getting started with RA FBA. Congrats. Could you recommend what printer to buy? I haven't started inventory in a year.
Yeah. If you're just starting, so this recommendation is for all new people across the board. And it's the same thing that Dillon said earlier. Do not spend money on stuff that you don't need, right? Don't create your Amazon FBA account and then a week later be like, oh, there's these 5 softwares I heard about. I'm going to go buy them. Don't.
You're right.
Like, don't even get Aura until you have 10 listings. Like, he just said that himself.
I will happily tell you not to do that.
So your printer and your supplies are going to be the exact same way. I don't want you going out and buying $200 scanners and all this kind of fancy stuff. You don't need a Dymo to start with. You don't need anything fancy. You don't need a Rollo. Yes, they are great and efficient. They have their place. Yeah. Not when you first start. Unless there's one rule. Unless if you've got 10 grand laying around you're starting with, awesome. Spend $200 on a printer, right? Because the thermal printers do make a big difference.
Most of us didn't.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
like when I got started with RA, before I kind of stopped touching inventory period, because # prep centers are amazing for wholesalers. I use a $50 printer. Like, it wasn't laser, it wasn't great, but it printed, it didn't bleed, it wasn't an issue, and it was $50. Exactly. And I used that thing until I stopped touching inventory. I'm like, all right, well, I don't need a printer now. But yeah, make it cheap. Like, be lean. Like, I love like that whole, like, this is why I like being in like an actual startup right now, is like, and being bootstrapped. Like, people underestimate being bootstrapped when it's revenue first, right? If you can't pay for it, you don't get it. You want to hire an engineer, go raise your revenue by another 120 in the next 3 months. I mean, it's cool, man, because it's innovative, right? It makes you ask hard questions and figure crap out. You're like, how do we do that? I don't know. Let's figure it out. But it's being cheap though too. It's like, hey, do we need to do it that way, or can we do it this way instead? It's a little bit more hacky, but I mean, it saves us $600 a month. Like, well, why wouldn't we do that, right? But you should do the same thing in your business, right? Because every expense you have takes away from spending capital that has a positive ROI. Now, listen, there's certain expenses, when they make sense for you to have a positive ROI. Aura has a positive ROI when you have enough listings. That's the whole reason why I built it. Vendrive can have the same thing. Like, any tool can have a positive ROI. A few of them don't. but you got to know when to use them, right? Because don't jump into the fantasy that we all unfortunately have gone through, which is, if I just have that tool, I'll be successful. Tools don't make you successful.
No.
You make you successful. God, I wish I learned this because, man, I'm telling you, me and James joke about this all the time, where at some point you look at your bills and you're like, why am I spending $1,500 a month on software? Like, that's ridiculous. And you realize you're not even using half of it, right? Because it doesn't make sense, or you're not effectively using it, whatever the reason is. And that's why I really caution people, like, don't just use a tool because people love it. It might not be the best time for you right now. That's okay. Like, I'd rather you wait 3 months when you have a successful business and be like, hey, cool, now let's really turn things up. Right? It's the same thing about be effective first and then find something that helps you be efficient. People are very happy for some reason to pay, you know, $300, $500, $1,000 to be uber efficient, but they won't pay the same amount to be effective. And it's much cheaper in tuition because it's just your time.
It reminds me the same thing with books. You can read a book now, get maybe one or two things out of it, and you can read it again a year from now and get a completely different experience because you're in a different phase. Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, and back to the printer thing, like, you guys want a cheap printer, just go to Walmart. I'm not even going to say Walmart. Go to Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, OfferUp, garage sales. Try to find just a basic Brother laser printer. Or you can get that stuff so cheap. HP, I don't care what brand it is. I love Brother, so go with that if you want to. But you're going to be using 30 up labels, so it's literally address labels. There's 30 per sheet. Avery is the one we all use. Go to Walmart, you get a 30 sheet pack for like $3 or $4. That's all you need. Yeah,
not super crazy. To answer the question, the last one here too about those labels, do you have to wait until you have 30 items to print? You don't. I did for the longest time. There's actually a way you could do it in Word. I forget how to do it because, again, it's been so long I haven't touched inventory. Oh. But there's a way in Word you can structure it to where you could basically say, no, just use, it's like a grid almost. You can kind of force it. So if I only have 3 at the bottom, I didn't waste 3. I just say, just print 3 there and we're good to go. I forget how to do it. You Google it, and Chaz, Chaz, do you know how to do it? I don't know.
I don't, because I was the one that had stacks of half-used sheets. I used them for other stuff. Like, you can use a blank one to cover up other barcodes if needed. Like, I used them for random stuff, but I had a stack of just like, there was 3 left or 5 left.
Yeah, I felt so wasteful. And then oddly enough, my mom, I was talking to her one day about that. I was like, yeah, like these labels, like I feel like wasteful. She's like, no, just do it this way. I'm like, what? I thought I was the tech millennial. It was great. But no, to your point a second ago too, about like when you should do, or like when you should learn stuff too, right? This goes hand in hand with like when you should and shouldn't use tools, is when you should and shouldn't read certain books. I think you should effectively read books when it makes sense. Like right now we're growing a SaaS software tech company. It's all new. So a lot of the stuff that I'm reading is hiring, building teams, not just teams of virtual assistants, because we're building internal teams now, vastly different, right? We're hiring internal customer support people, engineers. I mean, this is vastly different. You know, for me right now, something that's very important is behavior, like behavioral psychology, right? Like super interesting to me from a health standpoint, from a multitude of standpoints. Okay, so I get a book on that, right? And so instead of just being like, hey guys, what book would you recommend I read? I don't know. What's your problem right now? Like, be very selective. And it's hard, right? Because like, especially if you love to read, you're like, no, just give me all. Like, I have such a running, you know, every time I meet someone, they're like, oh, you should read these 3 books. I'm like, add it to the list. But seriously, be effective, and you should read voraciously. There's no reason why you shouldn't read 30 minutes a day. It's not a lot. It's really not a lot. Yep. And if you put it in your calendar, it's an appointment. You're good to go. But no, like, what are you curious about? Like, do you want to know how to build a massive e-commerce business? Go find people who have done that have written books that are $5 used like new, used like good, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't have to be expensive. Because it's overwhelming, because you're like, man, there's so much value to take in. Like, I can't get it in enough. You don't need everything right now, just like you don't need every tool right now. You just need the right tool. You need the right book for right now. Yep. And eventually you'll need those other ones. And then you go for those.
This was a few months back, but I know that this whole Amazon eBay world I'm in right now is a giant stepping stone. It's a big chapter in our life, but it's a stepping stone into the larger, which is going to be real estate. I
100%.
cannot wait to get into the real estate game.
Oh,
So
dude.
I would get,
I didn't know this about you. We're about to geek out here. Okay, hold on.
get into these modes of like just getting sucked into YouTube for hours, watching real estate flipping in different,
bigger pockets.
And bigger pockets. I subscribed to the web. I paid the monthly.
Man.
This goes right in line with what we just talked about. I was paying subscriptions. I even bought into a software that was like $200, and it would scan your local marketplace, and you put in filters and stuff. Like I went down that rabbit trail, and I bought all these real estate books. I've got like 5 books. I started to read one, and I'm like, this isn't the right chapter right now. It is not a chapter I'm going to write, but it's not right now. And I've got those books sitting on my shelf waiting for the right time. Because if I read it right now, I know that where we're at financially, where we're at with our Amazon eBay business, where I want those to be, I know that real estate's just not a good fit for us right now. And that's a prime example of those books at the right time. But I've gone down the rabbit trail many, many times of just endless videos. I got into a friggin' course on that thing, like the $39 seminar where they're just, do not go to those guys. They are
they're cheap for a reason, dude.
Oh man, those were the hardest salesmen I've ever seen in my life. Like they literally locked the doors when you go into the room. It was
like 10 grand to leave. You're like, jeez.
Oh man, they do all the tactics too. Like they'll turn up the heat and then turn it down. Like they mess with the room temperature. All the tactics they pulled out in this thing. I mean, I learned a decent amount, but as much as you can in a $49 course.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny because like I'm obsessed with house hacking. I have been for years. And listen, I've read, I read the sample of, I forget the guy's name. He's got a very long name. He's been on Bigger Pockets a few times, but he's got a book called House Hacking. And it's really cool. Like it's fascinating, but like it's not going down that rabbit hole right now, right? Like I know that's probably in a year where I can have the capacity to be like, I'm going to go buy a quad, maybe a 3-plex. I'm going to move in, rent out the rest. I'm going to hire, a property management team. I'm going to automate the crap out of that because I like that stuff, right? It's geeky. But now's not the time, right? And with having such big goals and audacious goals right now, like we all have, you have to prioritize for yourself. Otherwise, you're learning stuff that you can't take action on right now. Like, great, I've learned a lot, but I haven't done anything with it. Like, my life's not really better. Listen, I like knowing a lot of stuff because it's fun, because it's nice to be able to have random ass conversations because you realize Chaz is into real estate. Like, dude, big pocket. We talk about housing, quadplexes, right? Like, wholesale in real estate, right? Like, that's cool. But there's an effective amount of time you spend on curiosity versus things that are like, no, this is what I'm trying to do now. These 4 books will paint me a better picture of like how to go the route that I'm trying to go. Let's see. Scott made a good point here. Let me pull it up. The zebras are good for PCs. So going back to printers, but they don't play nice with Macs. Didn't know that. That's interesting.
Good to know.
Yes,
I've not messed with zebras before.
That's really good to know. It is weird how there's still like issues with that with hardware and PC versus Mac. There really shouldn't be, but there always.
We were literally just talking about this with pairing my headphones to my computer.
Right.
We love them so much until they stop working correctly, and then we're like, "Why do I own this?"
It's so annoying. But if they're Bluetooth, well, do they make Bluetooth ones? I don't know if those are good, even if they are. I hate plugging things in now. It's like, oh, it's USB. I'm like, cool. Can it be wireless? Like,
it's like,
I'm gonna plug it up. Like, I'm millennial, bro. Like, I want wires.
Oh, I cannot wait. Like, I recently found out there's a way to make dymos wireless. You can get them plugged into your network. So I need to take a day and figure out how to do that, because that would be phenomenal. Because we created this rolling station of our dymo setup. Because I have both the Dymo 450 for the inventory lab. It prints off of one label at a time. So I have the 450 for that, and then we have the Dymo 4XL for the shipping labels for the Amazon side. And we created this little portable, I mean, it's got like rubber band stuff onto the bars. Like it's pretty cool. And but the issue is we've got cords everywhere. And we always have to find an extension cord that's available because sometimes Trista and her helper are using it. So we have to like swap the cord. And like, can this just, what do I need to pay to make this whole thing wireless? And then somebody said you can make a 4XL wireless. So I'm like, all right, I need to look this up.
Sold, yeah. And what's funny is I'm the guy, like, if somebody's installing something and there's like 30 wires, I'm like, leave for an hour. I'm going to run all these cables perfectly. They're going to be organized, zip tied. Like I'm that OCD because, oh God, it makes me so happy. Like I can't stand walking into like a workstation and seeing a cluster of cables. I'm like, guys, it does matter. Like one, it's a massive fire hazard. Two, when you have to deal with it, it's terrible. Like just, and it just looks nice. Like I'm not that person where like I can work in like a cluttered environment. Like you can see kind of behind me, not that you can see like the whole entire room I'm in, but like, no, my entire life is disorganized. Like
and as you guys can clearly see,
but you're organized though.
I don't mind a little bit of organized chaos,
but it's symmetrical. And that's what I like.
It's symmetrical. Shockingly, when I was trying to figure out how to put these shelves up, Trista walked in because this was just a blank wall, and she walked in. She's like,
okay,
who put those shelves up? I'm like, I did. She's like, they're organized and symmetrical. How did you do that?
Yes, they are.
Like, if it's collectible toys, then yes, I will spend time to do it. If it's my clothing at home, probably not.
My stepdad, he loves Wu-Tang Clan. Like, it's the funniest thing. It's so cool. And so he found this artist who takes the Peanuts character cartoons and puts rap lyrics in them. So he buys like 6 of them and he's putting like a gallery together. And I'm like, hey, like, let me help. I'm doing the math. Like, I'm not even kidding. I'm like, how many inches do we have in total? How much are like, some are like vertical, some are horizontal. And I'm doing all the math, marking it up. I was like, this will be mathematically accurate. Like, it will be perfect. I was like, oh, if it's not, I'm gonna lose my mind. Oh, but it's good. That's great. Let's see what other questions we got here.
Besides printer, tape, bubble wrap, 30 up labels, is this all I need to send in my first shipment? Printer, tape, bubble wrap. You don't even need bubble wrap. Like depending on your item, right? If you're shipping in new in the box stuff, which I mean that's a different discussion for Amazon, but yeah, if you're shipping in new in the box stuff, you don't need to bubble wrap any of it. Just make sure it's packed well. If you feel you need bubble wrap, then go for it.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't need, I mean, if there's one tool I would definitely recommend that you guys get, and they cost like 15, if you want to go fancy, get the $20 one. Costs like $15. I don't have mine near me. So I have a wireless one now, but get a USB Bluetooth. Get a USB scanner. So when you do your shipment, you, instead of title searching when you go to add a product, if you're doing it through Seller Central or Inventory Lab, instead of title searching or punching in, or even worse, grabbing a UPC, does it have a UPC? Instead of going and grabbing a UPC and manually typing it in, you could take this scanner and beep, and it plugs the whole number in there. So that's the one tool I would definitely recommend you do get. $15, get yourself a cheap one. I used mine. I've had that thing for like 3 years. And I decided to go fancy, and I got a $50 wireless one now.
Or you go wholesale and you never touch your inventory, and you run the entire thing from a laptop.
if we're talking the true higher scale here, that's definitely the way to do it.
Dude, I joke, but it's so true. I am effectively lazy. Guys, if there's a better, easier way to do it, I'm going to do it. And it's not because I'm actually lazy. Like I work my butt off. Like I'm in school full time, running like 2 to 3 businesses, the podcast, like I'm on here for like 2 hours with you guys. Like it's fun. Like I enjoy it. But in order to be able to do, not that you should do a lot of things, but it was more out of, that's the only way I could make it work.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have 10 hours a week to make this happen. I can either spend that entirely on sourcing and talking with suppliers, or I can spend, half doing that, right? Like you do the math, you realize one is much better than the other situation. Am I willing to pay a little bit more because you do? Yeah, I am. But it works out. It's nice because you're like, hey, I'm going to go to Paris for a week, and you take a $200 Chromebook. Still good. Doesn't matter. It's not
That's
the
the
fastest
beautiful
thing,
part.
but
There's
it
so
is
many
not.
opportunities
I haven't touched that Chromebook since. Actually, it's somewhere. But
somewhere.
here we
Shout
go.
out to Robert who just sent me a text with a link on how to make my cart wireless.
Oh, clutch move!
You,
I
my
love
friend, are a
Bold move,
lifesaver.
Cotton.
I'm gonna be looking into that.
That's great. Let's see.
Dylan, where are you from?
These, yeah, I was gonna. So I'm in from Jacksonville, Florida, so Northeast Florida. Yeah, I don't like it here. It's not that fun. It's hot today. God, like it's humid. It's funny because like I love the cold. You know how people have like seasonal depression, like because it's
I'm
cold.
in Oregon. I know this firsthand.
Dude, I get the opposite though. Like when it's hot, I'm like, oh God, man, I don't want to go outside. But when it's cold, I'm like, guys, let's go do things. Oregon's beautiful, by the way.
Oregon's amazing. June through September.
Yeah, I went and stayed on the McKenzie River in a little cabin. We were in Vida. We went to the Three Sisters, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
God, dude, like driving from Vida to where that was, we saw like 4 variations of forests. How do you guys have that much diversity?
Because we have about 6 months of nonstop rain, and Oregon is so cool because I'm in the northwest part of Oregon, so I'm an hour south of Portland. Everyone knows Portland, so I'm an hour south of Portland, northwest region. We've got just rolling green hills and back roads everywhere. And we have a ton of small towns, and that's where I'm at. My town's got about 30,000 people, so it's not tiny. 10 minutes away was my hometown where I graduated high school, and I have a whopping 2,000 people in that town.
Oh my
so those
gosh,
are like the types of setups we have around here. But if you drive 3 hours towards Central Oregon, which is where you were, then you get into more like it's kind of middle ground. You've got part of it can be very dry and desert-like. They get a ton of snow.
Dude, I saw that. Yeah.
All the time. And then the more eastern you go, it just turns into straight desert on the other half. And that's all under the same roof of Oregon.
It's nuts, dude. Because we were in, I forget what it was called, but it was literally a rainforest. We went to like the hot springs, which by the way, didn't realize it was clothing optional. So we walked down with my girlfriend at the time. eight dudes just chilling in one of the springs, like, hey, what's up? Come hang out. I'm like, nope, this is weird.
That's so great.
But no, Oregon was fascinating, man. It was so cool. And I travel hacked that whole trip. So it was like $50. But I'm 15 minutes from the beach. I just don't like the beach. Like I'm pale, man. Like I burn easy.
You literally are the anti-Florida person, and you live in Florida.
No, it's so bad. It's really bad. But gosh, I need elevation. I like mountains. I don't like beaches. I like rivers. I like lakes. I like mountains. I like cabins. That's where I'm like.
We need to get you up to Oregon then. That's dude, Oregon. You just nailed it. Like lakes and all that.
I went there for the first time, and I was like, this is perfect. Like even our little mini cabin on Airbnb we got, I was like, I could live here. It's like a studio. I was like, done. I'll live here in a heartbeat. I actually made a YouTube video about that whole trip. It was kind of fun.
Did you really?
I'll have to share it. Yeah, I'll have to share it. It was a blast.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
Whenever you book a trip up here, let me know.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to check out Portland because I feel like Portland would be cool. I've realized I'm like 70% hipster, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm trying to.
If you go to Portland, like I'm so hesitant when I travel and people are like, "Where are you from?" I want to say McMinnville because that's my town, but no one knows where that is, so I have to say Portland. But I always have a little hesitation because they're like, "Oh, you're like one of the protesting type." Because that's all they refer to.
Bro.
They see Portland people just trashing downtown and being on the news. And sadly, that part can be true. Very hipster. So it's funny. Like
I just like coffee. I like good coffee and food. Oh man, that's the only hipster part that I like.
Coffee, wine, beer, and music around here. That's life.
Yeah, dude. Like that's it. That's all I need. That and like cabins, and we're good to go.
So and that's the beautiful part too, is you literally are an hour drive away from any type of scenario you want. We have the beach literally 45 minutes away. We've got, for me, Portland is an hour away. If I go 3 hours towards Bend and Sisters area, that's where you get McKenzie River and all that. I mean, I really do love where I'm at. I just hate the 6 months of rain. And I don't mind it for about 3 months, but the second half of the 3 months, like we're on the tail end right now, and I'm just like,
right.
We saw sun today, and I had my warehouse door open, and I literally was sitting here like this, like just waiting for the sun.
I will randomly
so
go
ready.
lay in the hammock, like on the back porch when it's nice out. I'll be like, I'm just gonna take my laptop and work in the hammock today because it's nice out. So I do enjoy it. But dude, when it's like you walk out and immediately you're just like super sweaty because the humidity is like 85% and it's like 98 degrees, you're like, no, not even worth getting in my car right now, dude. This sucks.
I've traveled over there when it's hot, and I'm like, I can't. I can visit, I can have fun, but I don't know if I can live there, because I'd rather take the rain and the cold like we deal with here, because we don't have a lot of snow where I'm at. We just get a lot of like gloomy, rainy days. Yeah, I'll take that over like the blistering hot. We have 0% humidity. We're literally, I think my town is, I'll have to look it up. I think it's like 200 feet elevation. Like we're at sea level.
That's great. I'm so sick of like everywhere I go, it's just flat. I'm like, God. Let's see. What's a good cheap scale? To be honest, when I was doing RA, when I got started, I'd use the bathroom scale.
Yeah.
I was like, not even kidding.
I still use, I doubt you guys can see. So there's a little tiny black scale right there. And it's Smart Way. That cost about $30. And I bought it about 3 years ago. We use it for the Amazon shipments. We just put it on the floor and weigh the boxes that way. And then we also use it for all of our eBay shipping because it does ounces too. I've used that for 3 years. It costs $30.
I've always wanted like the digital ones that have like the wire. You can like mount it on the wall. So it's just like right in front of you. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. But I'm like, that's like a few hundred, if not a few $1,000s. I'm like, I have one that I've had for like 3 years and it works and it's digital. I'll just use that as long as you can still see it while the box is on there. Cause I've had that issue where your boxes are too big.
Yep.
And so you can't like lay it flat. You actually have to tilt it on its side and hold it upright to get all the way.
The angle method. That's what I had to teach my employer. I'm like, this is the angle method because you can't see it.
You can't. No, it's perfect. I'm glad I'm not the only one who had to do that. Cause I'm like, I feel like every other seller right now would look at me and be like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah. You got these big old giant ones that they're using.
God, man. I used to try to pack so much into a box too. And then I learned the hard way about the 50 or is it 50 or 60 pounds? I think it's 50 pound limit.
See, this is when you know he hasn't done a shipment in a while.
No, dude, like I don't touch them. Like,
it's 50 pounds. And I actually started cutting it off at 48 because I sent in several like 49 pound boxes one time and they said it was 52. And I'm like, my scale, it's 3 years old, but it's pretty accurate, I think. Like, that could have been my fault. So we cut it off at 48.
Great. That's awesome. We're having tons of fun. See, everybody's getting like lively. I like it.
Yeah, there we go. We got a Vancouver person, which is literally right over Portland. That's in the Washington side.
Oh, geez.
They call it Raincouver. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, this whole like Portland to Seattle strip there's articles and all that crap that came out, but they said that between Portland and Seattle, we've got the highest rate of seasonal depression. Because it literally, we don't see sun for 6 months. It just rains. Wow. It's rainy and gloomy every single day. Some people tolerate it fine. Other people like myself, I'm like, I'm kind of ready for Texas. I'm thinking that might be in the works.
Yeah. I like how you guys are talking about trains in the comments right now. This is great. I
know. I'm like scrolling up, like, where did trains come from?
The parallel conversation right now. It's going great. This is Side Hustle Lounge, though.
This is the lounge. We talk about whatever.
That's cool.
And
so what have you been diving into with like automation lately? Like let's dive into that for a little bit.
Like outsourcing or what type of automation?
Like, what were we talking? I think I was talking. No, I mentioned it on your the live that you did previously. I think it was talking about like what's it called? Mercari?
Oh, Mercari. That's probably the cross listing thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just started really. Yeah, man. And that's the thing. Like, hint, software developer need. If you can just add this to your project list, that'd be great. Just go ahead and just text James right now. Tell him it's happening.
Right.
Here's what I would love, and people in the audience can comment and back me up here. I would love to be able to create a listing for eBay. And then somehow it magically pulls the information, the photos, and it cross lists to Mercari, maybe Poshmark if it's a clothing shoe item. So just a nice, easy to use cross listing software. There's a few out there that cross list, like Joe Lister is probably the most popular one that will cross list Amazon to eBay. And then it will, when the eBay item sells, Amazon will drop ship it that way. Not drop ship it, but multi-channel fulfill it. So that's like one, version of it. But now that I'm getting into Mercari, Poshmark, I'm trying to maximize. If I take one product, I want to maximize the exposure of that. So I'm listing. I'm even listing locally now. So I'm doing Facebook Marketplace OfferUp. You probably saw we just hosted this big, basically our own version of our own flea market. Essentially, we cleared out our bottom floor. We put up a bunch of shelves, and we sold almost $2,000 worth of just excess stuff. It was nuts. And so because of that demand locally, I had no idea our local market would love that kind of stuff. It was toys, customer returns, tools, that kind of stuff. And so I already ordered 2 pallets of merchandise to do for a sale next month locally. And I'm learning that my local market is loving sporting goods stuff. So now when I source and I find like a baseball bat for $5 at Goodwill and it's a good brand, I'm not just listing it on eBay for 50. I'm listing it for 35 locally, because if I take out my fees and my shipping, I'm making the same amount either way. I don't care if they come to my warehouse and pick it up or if it sells on eBay and I ship it, right? So now I'm learning how to be, it's not quite automation because it's a lot more work at this current point in time, until I can come up, again, going back to scratch, I have to come up with processes and systems that I can then either have a software help me out with, or I can teach my employee, Ryan, like, hey, when you list something on eBay, I want you to do a search on a local marketplace, see if it's worth money around here, list it there. Here's the issue. If it sells on one, you have to manually go through and delete it from the others.
You do,
That's where a software, hint, would come in handy. So that's kind of my big shift right now. I'm really focusing on is maximizing exposure on the products.
So eBay has an API. Let me see if Mercari.
And that's why eBay, because I'm sure you guys have looked into this stuff. eBay is not friendly when it comes to third party anything. They lock that puppy down. They do not give you the key. That's why there's no softwares. Like we don't have a way to do nice accounting, right? We don't have any automated accounting softwares. There's a few tools out there that help, but nothing that's as streamlined as like Inventory Lab for accounting or something like that.
Right. So I'm looking at if they have an API, but I'm actually finding a lot of GitHub repositories, which for those that are not technical, it's basically like a library of code, like open source code. But actually a few people have built in Python, which is kind of cool because that's what I'm learning right now. Wrappers for their API. That's
cool. So you add it to your project list. That's great.
Right. I'm trying to think like what's the easiest way you could do it? Because I mean, why not? That's pretty interesting.
Ooh, James brought up. What's up, James? Welcome in. Odor.
James.
I almost said odor.
Order Hive. Yeah. I have it pulled up right now. Under marketplaces, they're not set up for the one you want, which kind of makes it tough. Flipkart, Etsy, Walmart, eBay, Amazon, Jet, House, Store, Envy.
They do a lot of platforms. That's nice.
They have a lot going on here.
Yeah, like definitely. I'm going to add that one to my list to look at. Pat D said, no more warehouse lives. I like your setup now. Making a new setup for myself to get back to this family. We did the warehouse stream the one day, and it ended up being like almost 3 hours long. And it just died down in here. There was no foot traffic during that time, so we just cut it off. I'll probably do some more warehouse streams. I was shocked. So I literally, so Dillon knows what we're talking about. So we did this sale, right? It was basically an indoor garage sale. We opened up the door, let the public in, put a few signs around town. We had a few hundred people roll through that weekend. So it was really, really eye-opening. And what we did was I turned my computer around and I put my webcam and I just hit stream. So we have a 3-hour live stream of the sale itself, wheeling and dealing with people. And people stuck around for all 3 hours. I was shocked. People watch the entire thing. So if you guys like that, then I'll keep doing live streams of just like the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, we're going to start doing that sale the last weekend of every month starting in May. And I'm buying pallets
cool.
it's easy to find pallets of like customer return stuff that has damaged boxes, like stuff that you can't sell on Amazon, eBay's but locally, I'm getting some of these units for like $2-3 a piece. And I know because I ran the big sale, my customers were paying between $6 and $8 per piece. So I'm like, all right, I'll throw a few pallets on the floor, price stuff at double what I bought it for. And on the last day, I cut it down to break even.
Yeah, I'd start moving it.
It was so eye-opening to see that there was that much demand for this kind of stuff from my local market, which I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lots of people do listen in the background.
This I like this order hive. They have a pretty cool like setup. Because I really want to automate placing restock orders, and there's no tool that does that right now.
Yet.
Some
of the best tools are because you wanted to use it yourself and there was not one.
Literally.
So you build it.
Literally. James. James is really cool. Me and James talked.
James is super smart too.
No,
really good guy.
He helped us out with some Excel wizardry, and no, dude's on point. Like he's super cool. He's giving me a hard time about Aura right now, but that's because we don't have Inventory Labs integration, which is a very fair statement right now because Inventory Labs is dragging their feet.
Yep.
We're working on it.
And because he has to be nice, I don't have to. Inventory Lab is slow. They're waiting on a reply probably. If I were to guess.
I've reached out so many times. And what's crazy is we've had hundreds of our current users reach out to their support and be like, hey, when are you guys doing this? Hey, can you do this?
I know you know. To be honest, I bet that gets forwarded to a junk folder. Like they shut down their Facebook group for a reason. They don't want to do a support.
I know.
It's just the sad truth. And I mean, it's still even with the small little crap talk, it's still the best software for what it does.
It is. I mean, there's a lot that they can do, but for right now, it's pretty good. But James, let's definitely talk sometime soon. Let's schedule a time me and you can kind of talk. Send me an email at Dillon, Dillon at vendrive.com, and I'll send you a Calendly link and we'll schedule time to talk multi-channel and all that fun stuff. Because multi-channel is really interesting. I don't think a lot of people should start with it because it's too much to like if you're just getting started, it's like over optimizing.
It is.
It's like when people are like, no, I want to be on Jet, I want to be on Walmart. I'm like, how much have you done in sales on Amazon? They're like 5,000. I'm like, okay, maximize one sales channel. And then once you fully maximize that sales channel, then I think it kind of makes sense to start looking at other sales channels. Like, having some automation in there obviously is never a bad thing if it doesn't cost you time, but there is something to be said. And I'm definitely that person, but there's something to be said about like adding complexity when you just simply shouldn't. Like always make it simple. Don't make it complex because it can be.
Mm-hmm. That's
when
why
you
with like this
forget how things work.
Yeah. That's why with this like local cross-listing thing I'm trying to do with marketplace and stuff, I'm trying to come up with, and I've got about 100 items I'm going to do a test with. And so I have this plan. I'm going to list 100 items locally and I'm going to cross-list them on OfferUp. Mercari's not, I mean, that's like a new thing. That's not technically local, but I'm going to cross-list on Mercari just because I've heard from so many people, stuff that doesn't sell on eBay or Poshmark sells on Mercari. Like no problem. Really? It's just a different customer base. So I want to try it out.
I've never even looked at it.
Yeah, so I have it downloaded. Trista has an account I had no idea about. She sold stuff on there, I guess. So I'm just going to hack her account with it. So I'm going to take this test of 100 items. I'm going to find the most efficient way I can. And of course, this is just for like what we do. I just like Dillon said, I don't recommend you guys jump out and start cross-listing because Chaz is doing it. Like, no, this is just a test. I'm documenting here on YouTube, telling you guys what I'm doing. So I'm going to take 100 items, cross-list them, try to sell them locally if I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come up with the most simple system I can for me. And then hopefully be able to train my employee to take a good chunk of it over. So then it's just somewhat automated, right? I think with that, I don't think there's a true automation because you got to set up times people come pick stuff up. If you like, I'm comfortable doing it because we have a public shop we have a retail shop that we sell used clothing out of. So I'm comfortable giving people an address saying, yeah, meet us at the shop. If you are working out of your house, your apartment, like you probably don't want to have people coming up, meet in a public parking lot, that type of stuff. So I know there's got to be a way to do this without it sucking up a ton of time and energy. So I'm going to do a test and see
probably
how
have to
it
batch
goes.
it. You probably have to
batching
batch
is definitely
where you
a
say
big
like,
one.
hey, I can't do it today, but I can do Tuesday or Thursday, right? And you just batch them that, but you meet the same people at the same place, right? You're like, hey, meet me at the Starbucks, and you just sit there for like 4 hours with like a handful of goods until you get kicked out.
Pretty much. Like, sir, you
yeah. Are you dealing here, sir? I am actually.
Wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Looks like you got some good wholesale questions in there.
Where are we at?
I just scrolled down to the bottom, whatever's down there.
Oh. Trying to keep up. Things are like hard to see. Good Lord.
All right, crew. And just a heads up, I've got about
zoom.
10 minutes and I've got to go pick up my 4-year-old.
Yeah, it's like 10, 12.
Yeah, you're on late time. It's still early here. I still got some Xbox time tonight.
Dude, yeah, I have like 2 more papers I got to write for the end of the semester. I did like 2 exams yesterday, or 2 finals yesterday, and I got last one on Monday. But
oh man,
I have like this massive equity paper where we have to deep dive on the financials of an assigned company and basically break that down, doing a bunch of ratios, multiples, and see if it's valued, if it's overvalued, undervalued at a good market rate, and then what a recommendation is, compare. Like it's so data heavy, which is cool, but
when's that due?
It's not just Excel. Next week.
And you're chilling on YouTube here.
Yeah. I got plenty of time.
Oh man. No, we appreciate you being on here. I love this style, just super laid back. Anyone who's still here,
A, so we're good.
He's good. He can afford a low A. Comment below, guys, if you're still live with us, and just let us know. Do you like this lounge setup where it's just super casual, laid back?
Sure.
We don't care if it goes on for 2 hours. I mean, and as content creators,
it's just kind of hang out for me.
Yeah, it's just hangout. It's not like an official thing. And we, as content creators, we can take this and splice the audio and video out of it. Exactly. And we can repurpose content. So it's a cool thing too.
Yeah. Don, I'm doing my bachelor's in finance right now because I was stupid and took 4 to 5 years off. I wish it was a master's, but yeah, not right now. James makes OA less boring, dude. James is like quickly becoming like a favorite of mine because one, he's super transparent and honest, and honestly, like I love that. Like he straight up, like when me and him were talking initially, I was like, "Hey man, like, do you use Aura?" He's like, "Nah, I'm good with Be Cool because of this, and this." He's like, "If you get that, then sure." I'm like, "Dude, I love that feedback because now I'm like, yeah, dude, like we should have that feature. Like that's important, right?" And he's the way I am to an extent, like probably a bit more though, where he's like, no, I want it structured and automated in this way. And I'm like, that makes me happy to hear that I'm not the only person who likes that. So no, James, you're awesome, dude.
Ooh, Don had a good idea. When you get a lava lamp.
Oh, dude, that's great.
We should each have lava lamps.
Yeah. I love it. That's so good. Oh, that's great.
So that's what my Poshmark name is. Hold on, this is how new I am to it. I don't even remember. My Poshmark name is for Poshmark specifically. I was just gonna do shoes, so I'm cross-listing eBay shoes over to Posh, and it's NW Kicks.
Nice.
NW Kicks, because someone took PNW, which is Pacific Northwest. Everyone around here has PNW. Someone took PNW, so. Northwest Kicks, that's NW great. Kicks.
Gretchen, I somehow have a smoke machine, so we can make that. I think I have a disco ball, actually.
Yes. Make it work.
Dillon needs more things on his wall. Dillon's a minimalist, so that probably will happen.
Dillon and I have opposite tastes on walls. Like I actually, so Trista comes in, and I mean, she looks at the wall, and she like gets anxiety about it. So I've got like, that's my main background, but look at how much wall is empty. So I keep collecting shit in a box next to me. And I've got like 3 times this much. I can fill up that whole wall tomorrow.
Oh man.
And I keep buying stuff, and she's like, stop buying stuff. I'm like, no, my whole wall is empty. And she's like, how come I don't get a wall? I'm like, you don't collect or hoard anything. Like if you start hoarding stuff like I do, then
Yeah, we can talk. Yeah. It's funny because I used to be that way and I'm so not anymore. Like, and even like with like, because um Gretchen was or Pat Dees was talking about spend some of that money, kid. But honestly, like I'd rather spend it on hiring another engineer. Like to be honest, like that would give me way more pleasure. And listen, I'm super dork and geek, and I love that stuff, But you find that one thing, and that's like your total. And you're like, yeah, there we go.
careful because that's exactly how it started.
I know it's tough, man.
I had this Tony Stark was my very
Oh,
first
you have a Tony Stark, dude. That's sick.
I think he was a Walmart exclusive. Like I was selling Funko, so I was buying the Walmart
Yeah,
exclusives and the Targets, and I was selling them.
yeah,
And I found that one, and I'm like, it's one of my favorite characters. I'm just gonna keep him. So he like
dude.
stayed
Me
on my little
too.
desk, and then I'm like, well, crap, I've got to have. And then I think it was what was my second one? I think it was the Ragnarok version of Thor.
Yeah,
And that was the second one. I'm like, all right, so I had my two little guys.
yeah.
And then the shit spiraled and I just like couldn't. Then I'm like, well, I need a whole Marvel collection. So
Oh man.
that's about
Yeah.
a third of all the Marvels that I own. And then I was
Uh-huh.
like, well, we just finished Stranger Things. So I need to get some
Oh,
Stranger Things.
so good.
That's where these
The one with the
chases
Eggos?
came from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where those chases came from. And then it just grew. And then I'm like, okay. If I'm going in, I'm going in. Like I need my childhood back. So then I got into 90s
I know, man.
collectibles and toys, and I
That's
can't
cool.
stop. It's amazing. But you'll appreciate this. I have not spent one dime of my own money on any of it. Because
Really? I love
especially with the Funkos, my rule of thumb is this is mine and Trista's agreement. That's how I get away with it.
Okay.
I need to flip 2 to keep 1. So I'm breaking even.
Yeah.
Right? I'm breaking even on flipping 2 of them, and then my third one's my profit.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into an argument one day because she's like, you have too many. I probably have, it's not a ton. To me, it's not a ton. I have about 100. And she's like, you've spent money on those. I'm like, no, I haven't. I pulled up Inventory Lab and I showed her how much I've made on Funkos. And she's like,
yeah,
okay, you can keep doing it.
That's great. See, like for me, I'd rather not have like that many, but I would absolutely spend 5 to 10 grand on a full size Iron Man like setup. I like that
would be epic.
How I am. Like, and like I went through like a collecting phase with like watches, like high-end watches, like Cartier, Omegas, Panerai was my favorite. And like that's great, but the max I ever had was like 2 at a time. And I'm like, that's too much.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm that weird millennial hipster that like I just don't want a lot of stuff. Like I'm cool, you know what I mean? Like I have this odd fascination that like I could fit my entire life in a trunk. It makes zero sense. I can't explain to you the value I see in it, but I do. Like it's weird. It's so weird. I just don't like excessive stuff. Like I'm very utilitarian in that regard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's super weird. Like all the like futuristic movies where like they're basically all minimalist, but they have like high tech stuff. That's the life I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like across the board, that's the visual. I like it.
No, I
not
love
right
it
for everybody by any means.
Yeah.
But man, I geek out with it. But at the same time, like because I don't buy a lot of that stuff, it frees up so much like personal capital to do like
for sure
the random stuff that I want to get into. Right. Like I don't know. It's cool. Like if you want to hire a virtual assistant just to even help with personal stuff, but you're like, it's kind of pricey. Stop buying so much stuff and spend $100, $200 a month on a VA for 5 to 10 hours a week.
Shit. Most people spend at least $200 a month just on coffee. And then they're like, well, I can't afford Aura. Stop drinking so much coffee and get on a repricer.
It's not even $200 a month.
No, you're literally a quarter of the cost of any of these.
Dude, no, it's great.
Oh man,
elegant minimalism is what I call it. Ooh,
yeah,
God, I love that. It's effective. You know what I mean? But here's my caveat. Books are my hard point because I bought the Kindle because I was going to get rid of all my books. And I was going to be just that because like just one thing. I love the feel of a book. I love the smell of it, the tactile, like sensory, like it's great. Turning a page is great, but I can speed read for some reason, for me, much better on a Kindle than I can on a physical book. It's weird, but like, dude, I kid you not, I've read this thing so many damn times. I read it every single night. So I'm obsessed with Sherlock Holmes, highly obsessed with Sherlock Holmes. But this book has these riffles in the, like, they're not all the same cut. I cannot tell you how happy that makes me.
There's a term for that.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then like
somebody in here knows that term.
Oh my God, having this flipped like to that level, dude, no, it makes me so happy. God,
I love how happy you just got talking about that.
And I hate dust covers. God, I hate dust covers, but I can't throw them away. Usually I'll just kind of set them off to the side so I'm done reading it. But no, dude, like I'm exact same way, but that's my one thing where I'm like, I want to be a minimalist, but also have like basically an entire library, like wall to wall.
Yeah. Oh, my next thing I want to build out here is I'm probably going to ditch this one. I'm going to build out a shelf, and I have a goal. I want to start reading 1 book a week. And every book I read, I'm starting from scratch. Basically, I just want to start putting those books up there. Yeah. As like part of the knowledge base.
You know how to read a book a week? Because I'm obsessed with this too right now. Because like I'm obsessed with learning. Like I really geek out with that a lot. 45 minutes a day. If you do the math based off, if you know how many words per minute you read, and that's pretty easy to measure. You look at the average book or just the book you want to read next, and you divide it out.
Yep.
You know how long it's going to take. But on average, 45 minutes for the average reader, 45 minutes per day is a book a week.
That's and it. Most people, even if they say they don't, most people can figure out ways to get 45 minutes back.
Yeah.
Because we all waste time on shit every day. Yeah. It's my biggest thing. Like I get, obviously the people who have got like 18 kids, like obviously that's a little different story. Like I can see where that's a time issue, but a lot of people I've talked to where it's like, you gotta make it work. Like you've got 24 hours, the same as everyone else. If you have priorities, you got to make it work. Same thing with like, we've talked about this before with like fitness, people are, cause I used to do fitness coaching and people are like, well, I don't have time for an hour work. I'm like, can you get out and walk for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Like something you can make it work.
But also like if you add it to your calendar, this is a big hack and it's simple. Same thing happens with fitness. Like cause I was a personal trainer for a while too, like for a number of years. Put it on your calendar. I can tell you when I'll be at the gym because it's on my calendar and it repeats automatically. I can tell you when I'm going to read because I put it for 45 minutes on my calendar. Like, I mean, it's just, you create these protocols, right? Like, you can't find it. You gotta schedule for it. James, I love this because it applies exactly to me, oddly enough. So graduating college with a bachelor's at highest honors and haven't even read half the books in college. So oddly enough, I don't buy books for my classes, even like my high-end finance classes, because you just don't need them. God, they're a waste of time. The concepts are so easy. You can put them on a single page. Even like your high-end finance classes, the concepts are not difficult. But reading stuff like, behavioral psychology, Sherlock Holmes, just because I love it. I'm reading a history book on George Washington's little secret spy ring that he started during the early days. That's interesting. I don't know. That
would be super intriguing to read.
It's so cool. It's a short read. I mean, it's not.
That would be interesting. We just went to, in January, went to Mount Vernon, and that was the first time I've been there. So it was super cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. And it's about like 6 people. He just pulled in 6 people, but no, it's fascinating read. Love this stuff. I just like to read, but whatever. Yeah, time blocking. You need to. That's it. I'm telling you.
We did pretty much a full episode just on time blocking last time.
Dude, I know.
You guys need to go watch it if you need some tips on that.
Yeah, for real. Half a book, 75% of the books I literally never looked at or bought. The 25% I skimmed. I don't buy the books because for the most part, and this is not applicable to everybody, but like if you just pay attention in class. Actually, what's funny is my investments class I'm taking right now. I was looking at my notes because I take notes on my iPad. I've yet to take a single note and I have a 98 in that class.
Oh my gosh.
I've yet to take a single note because I haven't needed to. Awesome. Like it's a waste of time. Yeah. It's great. Oh, grad school. Tiffany, my heart goes out to you. But never buys the book. I love it. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Even
this
better.
Makes me happy. I'm vindicated. Cool. All right. I think we're going to post it there.
Sadly, that is the end. I'm shocked we have people still here.
I know. Thank you so much. I love it, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, awesome hanging out with you, man.
Yeah, seriously, dude. Appreciate it. This is a cool idea. This is fun. Be able to just kind of like casually jump around all over the place. Like, that's good stuff.
That's the lounge. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we'll just roll with that title too. We'll just call this the lounge.
Dude, no, it's good. well, yeah. Or while we do this, everybody that has an idea for a title, submit it as a comment or something, and let's like see some creativity there and see what people pick, because I'm curious.
We should do some poll. Like, should we stick with the lounge, or do you guys, let's get some creativity going. So if you guys have an idea for a title of this kind of laid back, need a lava lamp next time, I'm gonna write all the stuff down, get it ordered. This is not the last time we'll have Dillon on, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And
then I guess I need to figure out an actual like reoccurring time that I can hop on and do this, because
from Dillon's bedroom live.
So the lava lounge.
Oh, Dillon's paying for college.
That's awesome.
Ooh, lava lounge. That is pretty good.
That's good.
I like the L and L. Those make me happy.
Let's do it.
Cool.
All right, crew. Peace out. We'll see you soon.
Later, guys.